episode of What the Hell. On this one, it's the part two of What the Hell, Johnny Skelton. And basically, what we do is we talk about our military careers, the difference between each and every one of them, and the career field that we had, and the benefits and the downside to it. So, if you like it, comment, like, share, do whatever. If you want to just tell us off, tell us off. Talk to you later, people, and enjoy the show.
I went home on leave for 10 days, and then I reported to Fort Campbell, Kentucky on December 18th of 95. And coincidentally, that was the day that my first kid was born.
Oh, okay.
Uh, and he eventually became an infantryman. He's a police officer in Amarillo now, but
Okay.
it as far as like becoming an infantryman, to me, the infantry, we catch a lot of crap because we walk around with a sense of arrogance, not entitlement, but like kind of like we're better than everybody else, and
Yeah, but it's only before you get to a person that is more badass than you.
right, like if you're in a ranger battalion, or if you're part of a group, or part of a tier one team. But as far as like just basic ground pounding infantrymen, well, see, because normal grunts like myself,
Yeah.
we call them big army. We look at those guys with a sense of reverence.
Yeah.
Rangers, yeah, they're high speed.
Well, no,
a lot of them are dumb as rocks.
This is Evan talking about when he was in the CIA doing operations and everything, and they jean shirt. That's about it.
Yeah.
And he was talking. He was like, "What area are we going in?" Yeah. Okay. Hey, can you take this pistol and put it somewhere and hand me about 5 more grenades? Because if anything pops off, I'm gonna need those. And just everybody just shit in their pants, and it's one of those things. It took me a while to get it to where you shouldn't put everybody to a pedestal.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, when they make a mistake or something, just you don't go under the purpose of the
Well,
line.
see, and that's when it becomes the responsibility of that particular individual to kind of just
Exactly.
to pull you to the side. It's like, look, I still put my pants on one leg at a time. I'm human. I'm subject to mistakes. God designed me that way. I just have a lot more training than you do to be able to respond to that to that mistake better. But we here we are. We're fresh out of basic, fresh out of airborne school, and we see this ranger. We see guys with their long tabs. The special forces tabs. We see guys walking around wearing beards, and we're just like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
And we just kind of like, we want to be like those guys when we grow up, but because we had, at that point we really had no kind of point of reference. We just knew that these guys had been in, they'd seen some things, they get to play with the cool toys, but and I had stated earlier, I said, when I joined up, I wanted to be in the 82nd, because that's to me that was supposed to be like it, but for whatever reason, God and the Army thought that I needed to be at the 101st, and I'm telling you to this day, that is the best place. I'm thankful that I got to be a part of the Screaming Eagles, and that's something that I'm going to be laying on my deathbed years down the road. Nobody's going to ever be able to take that away from me. I was, I got to work with the best group of degenerates that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my entire life. I'm still really great friends with a lot of those guys. One of my buddies, Mikey Lopez. He's like literally a brother from another mother. And guys like Joel Pickowitz, Sean Franklin, Chris Wells. He was one of my roommates when I was in the barracks. Just solid individuals. And we understand that we're all getting older, but like if you give us a case of beer and unlimited supply of ammo and tell us to go do something, we're gonna fuck somebody's day up still, just because it's like, hey, we're gonna get to go play, you know. But you know, I mean, we're all older. We've all got kids. Some of us have grandkids. Looking at you, Mikey. Um, you know, but it's, you know, it's I wouldn't trade a single day. You know, I wouldn't give anything in the world to do that. I mean, I would do it over in a heartbeat, but I wouldn't trade a single day of it. Even on the days when the job sucked, you know, you were like, fuck, I just, you know, want to get out. You know, I'm going to reclass. Screw this. Those days, like sometimes those were the best days, you know, because I mean, you get those really cool ass memories, you know, where, you know, it's like we had a guy, he he went naturally bald by the time he was like 19, 20 years old because his wife just up and left him one day. And so, I mean, he stopped caring about modesty. He would shit with the door open, you know. You try to bring a girl into the barracks.
Well, that's a power move.
Well, yeah, you know, but like, you know, we're out in the woods and he's like, I got to take a shit. And I'm like, we don't care. So just go out and dig a hole, you know. And there, you know, where we were at, a lot of the drop zones and LZs that bordered the training area, the grasses would be allowed to grow really tall, and that we would let the civilian farmers or ranchers come on and harvest that stuff to feed their livestock. It was kind of a trade-off because they had to listen to, you know, gunfights all the time, you know, at night especially. But, you know, he's out there in the tall grass and he's bald, so he's got that shiny ass head just bobbing up and down, and it disappears. And we're like, well, he's taking a squat. Well, a couple minutes later, we just hear this helicopter coming in, and we're like, where the hell is that coming from? And then this Apache sits there, just hovers right above us, and it blows all the grass in the drop zone down. And so, I mean, you see this dude squatting, his ass hanging out. He looks up and he waves, and we were just dying at this point. And it was the gunner, the guy that sits in the front.
Yeah.
Right. He leans over, and we can kind of sort of see a little bit. We're looking up, and you know those old Fun Saver cameras.
Mm-hmm.
He shows us, and we see the camera flash, the flash bulb go off in the cockpit, and then the bird just takes off. It just hauls ass down the road. We were like, did that just happen? Because that was fucking awesome. This dude's coming back, and he is mad as hell. We were laughing. And we're laughing at him because he's so pissed. We're laughing at what happened. I mean, just the whole thing was hilarious. I mean, we're dying inside. I mean, our sides hurt, faces hurt. I mean, dudes are starting to run out of breath. You know what I mean? It's like you can't make this shit up, you know. And it wasn't so much the fact that they exposed him, is that the rotor wash pushed one of his turds off target. So
my God!
One of his turds hit the side of his boot. And he's like, fucking assholes, you know. So we're like, you know.
That's hilarious.
We were laughing our asses off. I mean, he was so beside himself. He had to go, like, walk down the road for a few minutes. And we were just like, wow, what the hell, you know? I mean, but.
Oh, my God.
But it's moments like that, you know, you gotta look back on. And, you know, you're like, did it affect anything on the grand scheme of the way that the world works? No. But I'll be damned if like that is not one of the moments that just kind of sticks out in your brain, and you know you're just like, I got to be there for that, you know, and you got to see some cool stuff, you know.
Yeah. Well, that was the same thing with my job. I mean, I was just basically a cook, or I did fitness or something like that, or lodging. Mm-hmm. But what a lot of people don't understand is I have to do. Basically, I'm a morale person.
Yeah.
Get everybody up and everything like that, but I had to do USO shows, so I met a lot of famous people.
Yeah.
Like, I was like Jay Leno, Cedric the Entertainer, Dwight Yoakam. Yoakam.
Yeah.
Chris Isaac, Drew Carey.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with Drew Carey was we had to go pick him up from the Navy base and take him to the airport, and he was just telling all the stories when he was in the military.
Yeah, he was
and
a drill instructor for the Marines.
Yeah, and he also had to do jumps, and he racked himself like 2 times in one jump because of the butt of the M16 came on his nuts, and then he was on the ground, and it did it again.
Oh, God.
Oh. Well, the thing is, as soon as we get to the airport, and this is, I also met Wayne Newton, and that dude's a dick. Hands down,
yeah,
dick.
I would.
I almost punched him because he was yelling at Drew Carey, and I was like, dude, I'll fucking punch him right now if you need me to punch him. It's like, no, I'll just deal with it. And they just left. But I'm at the second string cheerleaders for Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
A lot of the wrestlers for doing.
Didn't they do like a live Raw show overseas?
Yes, we didn't have that. We had I had to do one for Abilene. I mean, Stone Cold and Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Undertaker.
He just retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was telling a story on Joe Rogan that, my God, much as you hear about, that is like extreme fuck your body sport.
Yeah.
I mean, is as much damage they do. I was gonna meet Jake the Snake Roberts, but the time frame was he was back on cocaine and everything like that. So I was talking with Atlas because we were building a ring in our fitness facility and everything else, and I was there to help him out because I don't have anything else better to do with my life because I was single.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, I was just meeting. I was like, hey, I heard Jake the Snake Roberts here, and I'm still terrified of fucking snakes, and I was terrified of him. I was like, Jake the Snake is not gonna be here, right? He's like, no, he's always on cocaine again. I was like, yeah, you know about that? And I was like, yeah, but nicest, sweetest people.
Yeah.
And it just, I met a lot of people from Russia because Dias was in nuclear base for the longest time, and they had to get rid of the nukes and everything. But Russian diplomats had to come in there. And God, I'll tell you one thing: don't fucking drink potato vodka. Oh my God, the worst hangover I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's almost as bad as moonshine. A little bit worse. I mean, like the real moonshine, not the...
Yeah, no, not the stuff you buy on the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm it's actually just having people go up and like a person that, oh, I know the world because I read it in books, compared to a person that's went around the world and everything. Mm-hmm. And I met some fantastic people. I met some really strange people, and I met some people that I just want to throw underneath a bus.
Yeah, yeah. All those categories. All of the above. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, now I'm not to say in that, you know, everybody that I've come in contact with in the military that, you know, I'd want to go have a beer with. No, I mean, there are some guys that you definitely just like, you wouldn't be, you know, no, I'm not even going to say that. I was going to say, you know, it wouldn't be sad if they got fragged, but I mean, you don't want to.
If he vanished off a cliff, you're like, oh,
yeah,
he's gone.
If they went AWOL, you know, nobody would miss them, you know. But it's like, you know, for the most part, it was just one of those. You really, really had. I really just had just an overwhelmingly positive experience, you know. Now, is the infantry for everybody? No, absolutely not. But
you didn't pull what my brother-in-law pulled when he was doing exercises, though. He screamed out because he was about to go. They were about to attack the opposing other side.
The out four, yeah.
Yeah. Guess what he screamed out?
Oh, tell me he did the Leroy Jenkins.
Nope.
No.
Fixed bayonets.
Oh. Yeah, you know, we would always joke about that, though. We were like, you know, how cool would it be? We're like, fucker, we are in the field. You know? It's like, no. The only time that we heard fixed bayonets was when we were about to do pass and review, because, you know, every year we have a thing called Week of the Eagles.
Okay.
And you get the entire damn division out on one parade field. Some hard ass decided that they wanted it. They would look cool as shit to have bayonets fixed. You know, it's like, you know how they say that when, you know, that you get cut worse with a dull knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely true. You know, because we're like, we never use the bayonets. You know, we never did. You know, so it's like, what's the point of sharpening them? You know, it's like we started sharpening them after this, but well, we weren't supposed to, but we did anyway. Anyways, um, somebody locked their damn knees, passed out,
Oh
fell
my.
forward, and the guy in front of him, they cut. I mean, they just shredded his uniform from shoulder to calf. So you know that guy
Oh
had to get
shit.
stitches all the way up. The other guy, like they hauled him off. Like, dude, did you just lock your knees, medic? You know, it's like, come on, you know. So I mean, but it was like, yeah, okay. So now we have to sign out our bayonets, but they're staying in their scabbards. You know, they're staying on your belts.
That's one thing it confuses me a lot is when something goes wrong, everybody has to pay for it. That was one thing the military didn't understand.
Well, okay, so it forces accountability.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, and instead of making it an individual thing, because you know how they say that there's no such thing as individuality in the military.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless you're
unless you're the one that's screwing up, and the drill sergeant or your NCOs are like, "Come here, you know." But it's like, to me, it's like um, the group punishment really it forces that cohesion dynamic to really come to head. You know, it's like, okay, now you've got leaders and you've got battle buddies that have to come alongside your weakest link, and you have to bring that person up to par.
yeah.
You know, it's like, look, either you're going to pull your head out of your ass, or we're going to do it for you. You know, and you know, so whereas if you've got your peers coming alongside of you and they're showing you, hey, look, we've got a better comprehension of the task that's at hand. Here's what we're doing to get this done. You find that you retain a lot more information when you receive that information from your peers versus, you know, I mean, because everybody learns differently. You know, like me, I'm a hands-on guy. You know, I mean, you can walk me through on something how to do it once, but then I just have to play with it. You know, and you know, and it's like when you get that introduction on how to break down your M16 or your M4. It's like, you know, you get this big diagram up there about the bolt carrier group and the firing pin and you know, the extractor. I mean, you get all of this, right? You get your hand guards, your slip ring, all that. It's like, yeah, that's great. You can show me, but like, let me get my hands on, because you know, I can build that muscle memory.
To this day, I don't know any. I know everything about my gun on how it works and everything. Mm-hmm. But if you ask me, it's like, hey, what's this called? I have no knowledge of what's what.
Yeah, but I bet you could still break it down blindfolded, though. Yeah. No? No. Well, don't I feel overachieving now?
You probably are, because man, I can break it down.
Yeah.
But I can't like break it down, like take off the gas valve.
Oh yeah, no, I'm talking about your basic field level maintenance style breakdown.
Oh yeah, I can do that blindfolded.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your armorer levels type stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No. You know, it's like, not unless this thing is sitting in a vise and I I can physically hold my hand over the springs. You know, no, I'm not.
Well, I can take the back spring off and everything like that. You just gotta make sure when it pops out to be out of the way.
You know, I'm like, it's like whenever we would take apart the 50, it was like you always had to make sure that the bolt was forward, because the buffer spring in a 50, if it's compressed, it'll go through your hand.
Holy shit!
Yeah, you know, because I mean, you can't take that back plate off unless your bolt's forward. And we had a guy try to do that. He pulled that back plate off, and when he went to go hit that spring, that sucker stuck in a cinder block wall. I mean, luckily it did not go through his hand, because he got he doing it like this, and it just, you know, passed through in between here. But it stuck into a cinder block wall.
Oh wow!
You know, he got his ass reamed out for it.
Oh yeah, I would be.
Statement of charges followed shortly thereafter, but you know, and a new buffer spring and buffer spring guide rod. But it's like, you know, but as far as like group punishment versus individual punishment, I believe in the group punishment to a degree. Um, but I mean, once you get to a certain point, like in your career, when you get to your unit, it's fine to group punish for a little bit. But after a certain point, as a leader, as an NCO, whether you're a corporal or whatever, it doesn't matter. Or even if you're a specialist filling that slot, it's like you got to pull that soldier off to the side. You admonish in private, you praise in public. It's like, because I mean, you call somebody out on a consistent basis, you choose somebody's ass in front of their peers, you're going to lose respect to that soldier. And it's not some kind of a snowflake mentality. It's like, pull them off to the side. I mean, if you're doing your job and properly chewing somebody's ass, people are going to hear you anyway, but don't do that in front of everybody.
Yeah, that was one thing when I was working corrections that we were always told, if you have to chew out another officer, make sure the inmates aren't going to see it, because they will lose respect for the person that's getting yelled at.
Exactly.
And think they can get away with a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's like with our platoon leader. He died in Iraq, so I mean, he was the guy that we all wanted to be when we grew up. He was a father to guys who didn't know their dads. He was a second dad to a lot of us that still had ours. He was prior enlisted, so he knew what was up, and he would, pull you off to the side. It's like, hey, what's going on here, And I mean, but when it got to the point where he had to pull you aside as a lieutenant, the NCOs were obviously involved in that conversation, but he was very approachable, and he knew what it meant to be a good leader. He followed the 3M's: men, mission, myself. You take care of your guys, they'll take care of the mission, and then you can worry about yourself later. It's like you give up the last pair of dry socks because your guys are either sweating profusely or they've just gone through all of their socks. It's not that you fucked up as a leader and didn't do your pre-patrol or pre-combat inspections to make sure that they had all their shit.
Yeah, some people just need a little bit of extra.
Yeah, I mean, some guys just need extra socks. They're like, okay, look, this is my last clean pair of socks. I'm going to put them on your feet. I can figure it out on my own, but next time you need to pack extra, kind of a thing. And you make those adjustments, but as far as like group punishment versus individual, at a certain point it does need to become individual. You pull that guy aside, you pull him behind a closed door and be like, look, you are screwing the pooch here. And I need to know what's going on. What do we need to do differently as a leader to make sure that you get your head out of your ass, so that way, the attention to detail that you're putting into it is the same on par with everybody else. So that way, when bullets start coming back at us, we don't fucking get killed, or you don't get hurt, or you get somebody else hurt, because we all have to rely on each other, especially in the infantry. And it's we start talking about that toxic leadership culture, and you start to see a lot of these leaders that are in the Army now try to get away from that. You see a lot of these guys like on TikTok, like Dirty Bird Fitness. He's a first sergeant with an infantry unit over there at the 82nd. Infantry Guru. He's a command sergeant major.
Or
there's
Angry
another guy.
Cop.
Yeah, Angry Cop.
Josh Paul.
Yeah, there's another guy.
He's in Dallas.
Yeah, there's another guy that I follow, Stu West, I think his name is, off the top of my head. They really, they really try to personify and get out that message of getting away from the toxic leadership to, enhance the Corps, to, continue fighting, stuff like that. But, it's, so I mean, it's good, and it's heartening to see leaders start to embrace the proper style of leadership versus burying a guy's career under a counseling packet.
Yeah, that's the reason why I didn't get kicked out, but I got kicked out. I still have an honorable discharge.
Right.
But I was like my last, I would say 2 years. I had just personal trouble. I mean, my mom passed away, and then a girl I was seeing dumped my son in a trash can, and he died. And I just had a whole bunch of stuff that just roll. It wasn't military.
Yeah.
That was messing up. It was actually military that was actually keeping me somewhat sane.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a transfer of a first sergeant that didn't like how everybody was handling me, and basically to the point to where the person that killed my son called me up, and I was supposed to have any contact with him. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I didn't want to have contact when I never had contact. And then what it came around to is she called me up telling me she's going to commit suicide. So I did the right thing, called my command and tell them, hey, she called me up. She's talking about committing suicide. And I got basically an Article 15 for talking to her. And then I can't go into any kind of branch.
Yeah, no. See, to me, you know, if you're doing the steps, if you're taking the steps to try to do things properly, you know, because I mean, they could try to lay out conditions in stone right there, black and white, put it on paper, kind of a situation. But was it Murphy's Law of Combat says that no plan survives the first contact intact? I mean, you're always going to run into those fluid situations where it's like you've got to make a judgment call, and it's like, look, you know, hey, I'm going to kill myself. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Hang up the phone? You know, it's like...
Yeah, most of the people that get in that kind of situation get the worst day award.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, oh, I'm going to kill myself. No, cool story, bro. You know, click. You know, it's like, you don't want to be that guy, because if that person does go through with it,
yeah.
You know, you...
Well, he contacted me and everything like that.
You know, but you went out of your way and you contacted your chain of command. You did what you were supposed to do. And then they still handled it that way. To me, that's part of that toxic culture that we needed to get away from, and we still need to get away from. You know, like my oldest son, he had one of those guys. You know that, you know, it's like, because my son, not the best runner in the world. I mean, nothing taken away from him. Excellent soldier. He's a great cop. Just, he's not one of the fastest people in the world.
Yeah.
You know.
He's not Jesse Owens.
No, not Jesse Owens by any stretch of the imagination. not a Will Rudolph, none of that. But I mean, as far as like everything else, technically and tactically, great soldier. Great.
Yeah,
soldier,
that's what a lot of people don't understand is putting people in the right position.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, you know, and part of that, you know, part of that toxic culture was that you could be a shitbag everywhere else, but my God, if you could score high on your PT test, you got to be doing something right. Nobody gives a shit. Yeah. It's like, okay, he's busting his ass. He can shoot. He can move. He can communicate. He can disseminate information. He's tactically and technically professional or proficient at his job, and he's trying to make moves in his career to advance himself, to better himself, to further the mission. You know. But if you can't run, oh God, you know, you just, you know, might as well just be a shitbag and hang it up. And it's like, and you know, so instead of this particular NCO coming alongside of him and going, hey, look, what do I need to do to help you out? You know, and instead of looking at it from the outside, saying, okay, he's a great soldier here, he just lacks in his run a little bit. What do we need to do to figure this out? You know, he didn't do that. This guy came in, started berating, started yelling, started just down, you know, just talking down, and just basically kind of took all the motivation for wanting to stay in out of the equation. You know, it's like bury you under, you know, counseling statements and paperwork. It's like, what point does that serve to make? You know, it's like you're not being an instructor at that point. You're not being a guide. You're not being a leader. You're just being an administrative asshole. It's like you might as well just reclass and become an S1. You know, go work in a PAC office somewhere. You know, and if you want to hand out paperwork and make sure everything's done grammatically, you know everything's done in triplicate, reclass and go do something else, because obviously you're not here to advance the mission. You're here just to be a prick, and it's either you know, they either get dominated at home by their wife and they have to sign for their balls every morning before they go to work, or you know, they got their asses kicked when they were a kid, and they felt that now that they've got the chance to return that on somebody, they're going to, you know, or they just they got piss poor training from somebody who was a complete waste of skin, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, we're starting to see it now more and more, where that toxic leadership trait cycle is being broken, and we're starting to get back to, you know, what it means to train and retain soldiers and, you know, Marines and sailors, you know. And it's like, you know, and not to throw anybody politically under the bus, you know, it's like it started back in Clinton Army, even, you know, became a little bit more prevalent during, you know, Bush's terms, and especially during the Obama administration. It just, political correctness just running amok, and it took the military from being the military, the fiercest fighting force on the planet, into an ice cream social group who was more worried about optics.
Or even to the point where if you had to be shot at before you shoot back.
Yeah, I mean, officers and NCOs became more worried about their evaluation reports than they did the welfare of their soldiers and the effectiveness of the fighting force.
Well, that was more or less the Obama administration, because of what happened was is he wanted to make sure that we were killing the people that were supposed to be being killed. And it got to the point where they had to have like a 15-page document if someone ended up shooting somebody.
Yeah, see, you know, whenever they suggested the idea that we were going to have to start reading Miranda rights to people on the battlefield outside of the United States, we might as well just went ahead and packed it up and went home, because you give a guy who's trying to bury bombs under a road or strap explosives to a civilian rights, they're going to lawyer up, and you're going to always get that scum of the earth lawyer. You know, we've got a few of them here in town. I'm not going to mention any names, but you know who I'm talking about.
One ended up going back to Denton.
Yeah, they'll no, not that one. No, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about a her, but that's.
Oh, okay,
yes,
yeah.
But you know, I mean, you're going to get those scum of the earth type people that they're in it for the money, and they don't care who it is that they're representing or why. Just, you know, I mean, you're gonna get, you know, they're gonna represent the you know, the rapists, murderers, and child molesters of the world, and they're gonna make them look like they were saints, you know. And it's like, you know, you don't give our combatant, you know, enemy combatants, you know, civilian rights. It's like, you shoot at me, you shoot at our guys. It's my job as a leader and my job as a soldier to kill you before you have a chance to kill me.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the ultimate. I mean, that's the ultimate end goal, is to, you know, war is to kill more of them than they kill of us, until, you know, you either get tired of it or you're just not around anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, and not that war should be the first thing. I mean, because what was it? The saying was back in the day was that any soldier worth their salt doesn't pray for war.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, it's, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's kind of nice to be able to actually do your job, but at the same time, you don't want to have to do it just because you know what you're capable of. You know.
Yeah, most firefighters don't want to fire.
Yeah. You know,
even though they're trained to do it, even though they don't do it that much anyways.
Right, but you know, it's, you know, we start. I think that the overall effectiveness of the force is going to start enhancing, and you're going to start seeing the retention numbers start to go up. If you start, as the more and more we start seeing that culture of good, solid mentorship style leadership, you know, it's okay to climb in somebody's ass every once in a while to make sure that they're keeping themselves honest. You know, because, you know, I mean, we're not requiring people to become best friends and buddies and like, hey, you know, come over here and hang out at my house afterwards. I mean, we're not asking for that. It's just we're asking for a consistency. If you're going to consistently train your soldiers a certain way, do it that way all the time. Don't sit there and be like, oh well, somebody's watching and it's time for my OER or my NCOER. Well, I'm going to really kind of try to score points here because I'm trying to fill a quota for paperwork. What? Screw paperwork. Take soldiers back in the wood line, smoke the dog shit out of them. You're giving them an opportunity to be better physically. It's like, hey, look, I'm just going to help you pass your next PT test. Let's just put it that way. You're going to give that soldier, Marine or Airman, reason to pause and be like, yeah, my arms and my legs and I was sore for like a couple of days the last time I did this. Yeah, I'm not going to do it that way. And it's not that you're just standing over them while you're smoking them. I mean, you're giving them instruction. You're imparting upon them how they can be doing something better and why they're getting smoked now. It's like, here's why and how you fucked up and here's how you can prevent this in the future. But I mean, so there's ways to do that. I mean, you go old school, but then you can still be kind of new school in the sense that, it's kind of like how they talk about the Great Commission. It's like we're supposed to win over souls for, new souls for the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
It's like you can't do that strictly with the Red Book of Hymnals, or hymns, and expect this generation of people to come into the church and stay there. The message has to evolve to stay relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, the message needs to stay the same and it needs to stay consistent, but the delivery, the device of delivery needs to evolve. But you can be proactive in adapting to the situations by learning about your people, learning about your environment, and figuring out ways to be more effective that way. Because I mean, it's just like when you get into a firefight. If you approach a firefight the same way every time, the enemy's going to pick up on those tells, and they're going to figure out a way to work around it.
Basically changing their tactics.
Yeah, they're going to change their tactics. I mean, you need to be fluid, and you need to be able to change yours as well, and that's adaptable to everything. That old saying, "Attention to detail and a lack of it will get you killed in combat." That's applicable to civilian life. I mean, you need to pay attention to what's going on around you. Situational awareness can and will save your day, and it'll more times than not pull your ass out of a hot spot. Because people are going to pick up on little things, and they're going to people. Let's be honest. For the most part, people suck. And unless they feel like they're going to get something out of it, a lot of times they're just going to be complete pricks. And that's just because they've grown up in this culture that you need to be savage, you need to be salty, and you need to be woke. And it's like, to me, just saying that somebody's woke just sounds ignorant. But, it's like, what is woke?
Well, most of the time, it was like going in as a correctional officer, going in each and every day, you see a person that's usually just happy. And then an inmate comes up to you, it's like, oh, let me in my thing. I was like, well, what happened? Well, I tried to call my ex-wife, or tried to call my kids and everything. They wouldn't pick up and everything. I was like, well, I'll tell you what to do. What time frame do you need to call and everything? I was like, well, I need to talk. I was like, all right, I'll give you that. If it comes around to where you have to talk to your wife at like 11 o'clock, come get me. I'll have you do it. I'll let the other officer do that. And my day's 100% better because that one person is like, hey, he's doing this for me. Give him a little bit of slack throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, because you're humanizing them.
Yeah.
And you're showing them that while you are still an immovable object, as a person you're coming to them and you're addressing their needs, and you're not so much personalizing their experience. I mean, because in your particular profession or former profession, I mean, you're in a correction facility, so
yeah,
they understand why they're there, but you're still giving them they're not just a number at that point.
Yeah.
You know, they're not something that just plugs into a machine. I mean, you're giving them value, and they're
That's
by
what
that
a lot of
extension.
people
Yeah.
need, especially when we're trying to better a country.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and so I
And
mean,
it's not
it's
necessarily our country; it's the country that we're trying to. We're not invading. We're giving them a better option.
yeah, you're letting them know that even though they made a decision to do the things that they did to get there in the first place, that's not the end of the road for them.
Yeah.
You know, there is a brighter spot on the other side of that wall, but it all boils down to leadership. It all boils down to taking that time to instruct. I mean, just because you're a leader, there's a difference. My dad used to use this all the time, but there's a difference between being a boss and being bossy. You know, and I would even take it a step further. And there's a difference between being a leader and just being a prick.
Yeah, I had one commander that would just yell at people and everything like that, and then I have another commander that's like, "Hey, heard you're having a hard time because no one's showing up to. Everybody's like sick. We had a bad case of flu. I was the only one that would just show up, even though I was sick in a dog, and I'd go in, do my job and everything like that. He actually showed up, rolled up his sleeves, and helped me out.
Yeah.
And I was working nights.
Yeah. And that was one thing too, as it relates to Captain Tipton, uh, my platoon leader. He'd ask you, hey, we need this fighting position done. He'd go take care of what he needed to get taken care of, and he'd come back, strip his blouse off, grab a knee tool, and he'd be filling sandbags with you. Yeah. And that was one thing that I always felt was, imperative as far as, leadership styles, was that never ask your people to do something that you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. And I think somewhere along the line, we started to lose that. And the longer, and if you look back historically, especially in the military, the longer that a conflict would continue, you'd start to see an influx of officers just rotating in and out of certain areas. Maybe at the end of World War II, towards the end of the war, you would see officers rotate in off of staff positions to go to forward combat positions, just so they could get that combat time on their resume. It would make them look better. They were just padding resumes at that point. It wasn't about the mission.
And those people
it wasn't about the soldiers.
And like 85% of those people are just worthless.
Yeah, I mean, you would eventually, every once in a while you'd find that diamond in the rough. That when they got there, it was just they were begging for that opportunity to be able to get where they felt they needed to be. And it's not because it advanced their careers, because they genuinely wanted to be there. Because they genuinely felt that they could make a difference.
And you see that if you ever watch the, it's on Netflix called The Liberators.
Yeah, yeah.
You see that dynamic throughout the whole series of that.
Yeah.
And that was very, very good.
Yeah, but I think, as far as like, getting back to the intended topic for today, as far as like, pipeline for the infantry, kind of thing. It's like, you see a lot of guys with blue cords or just infantry, because in the Marine Corps, it's like 03.
Yeah.
But
what's the purpose of the blue cord? I've always wondered that.
It's our branch insignia. It's
Oh,
our
it
branch
is?
identifier. Yeah. So,
I thought that. Well, you get the rifle badge, and then the blue cord, or
no. Okay. So on your lapels, you have your branch insignias, right? Your cross rifles.
Yeah.
Right? Cross rifles is the insignia for the infantry. We get the blue discs that go behind those.
No.
And then we get to wear the infantry cord. The infantry cord goes on our right shoulder, but because the infantry is, they say that it doesn't take a lot of intelligence to become an infantryman. You have to, you got to be able to think. You have to be able to use your head. You have to be able to, I don't know, innovate, for lack of a better term. Kind of on the fly. So you have to have a degree of intelligence to, fluidly think during situations. Um, but the infantry corps is, I mean, it's really kind. I mean, I feel bad because I feel kind of lacking here. It really it didn't. I think that didn't become a part of the infantry uniform until I think like the 50s, like 50, 58, I think. Don't quote me on that, but um, it really just became, you know, the infantry needed something to set itself apart from the rest of the army, you know, and it really became a sense of pride. Like when my son went through his turning blue ceremony uh, back, oh, God, I don't even remember when he graduated basic now. But when he went through his basic training,
I can't even pronounce the name what it's actually called. Aiguillette. That's what it's actually called.
spin that around. Let me see.
My dyslexia kicked in like heavy car.
Yeah, that is definitely French. That is definitely French. No, but like with the infantry corps itself, I mean it's really just to signify, past the branch insignia. I mean that's just say, hey, look.
You're absolutely right. Hold on. Aiguillette.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it, it you can, I mean, you get like your expert infantry badge, your combat infantry badges, and for the longest time we were the only branch in the military, or a branch in the army, that had an award specifically for us. That, and you had your medics as well. You had your expert medical badge, and you had your
it doesn't tell you when that was actually put in.
but it's, you start like with the Marine Corps. You don't have to see those combat awards, or see something specifically designating you as an infantryman, because every Marine should be a rifleman. Okay, some guy typing in the personal finance office is gonna get out there and he's gonna all of a sudden be some kind of a hard ass. Yeah, I get the premise behind it, but the infantry dedicates they're dedicated to a specific mission. It's almost like a ball player, like a baseball player. Like you take a baseball player, put him in any other sport, and 9 times out of 10 he'll compete. But you take an athlete from any other sport, you try to give a bat, put a bat in their hand and tell them to hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. A lot of them aren't going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Same thing kind of applies to the infantry, and I know that you're going to catch a lot of shit for it. You're going to hear a lot of these people sending you messages, and they're going to look me up and they're going to be like, what the fuck are you doing, But, you're going to, the same thing with the infantry. You put an infantryman in any other job in the military, and then we'll be able to figure it out. But you take a guy from any other MOS, and you put them in an infantry role, and it just basically due to the rigors of the infantry, whether it be light infantry, mobile infantry, mechanized infantry, there's going to be a lot of, except for the Cav Scouts. Don't at me, but like Cav Scouts, we're basically infantry. Shut up! No, you're not.
What's a Cav Scout?
They ride around Bradleys and stuff like that, and like they're I think it's like 19 Deltas, their MOS. I know it's like a 19 something, but they'll sit there and talk about how they're basically infantry. I'm like, no, you're not. You're basically just not. You see a lot of these TikTok videos, it's like making fun of Cav Scouts, and they're like, oh, okay, it's like,
yeah,
that's just kind of, it's a joke, but seriously, they're not infantry at all. If you're a Cav Scout, fight me, I dare you. You ask any other infantryman that you come across, it's like, so is Cav basically infantry? They will look at you, and then you would physically see them having to restrain themselves from whipping your ass.
Oh wow!
I mean, because it's a sort.
Well, that's kind of.
It's a source of pride at that point, but
yeah, it's basically someone saying it's like, oh, we're gonna go to the chow hall, and if it's on an Air Force base, it's like, no, it's a tiny facility.
Right. You get a grunt like me, and you put us in an Air Force DFAC, you know, and we're gonna be like,
Yeah,
where's the lobster rolls at? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
you guys, really? Your seats have cushions in them?
Yeah.
What the fuck? You know, I mean, it would be like walking into a 5-star Hilton hotel. You know, and it's like, you are a dirty grunt. Get away from my table. You know. It's
I
like,
had the only funny story with any other branch I had was when I was actually first going into the line and doing doing my work. Is I was making eggs for some for morning chow.
Yeah.
And this Marine keeps on coming in each and every day, and he was the hands down Marine, going, "Thank you, sir." Walks off. "Thank you, sir," every day for like a week. I was like, dude, I'm supposed to be like morale boost here and everything like that when you smile. His fucking reaction and my reaction afterwards was he laughed his ass off. He was like, "A Marine only smiles when facing combat. That's the only time we're allowed to smile, sir." I was like, "Well, we can go in the back. I don't care." He was like, he was like, "Oh, that's a good one." And he just walks off, and he comes back after he eats and everything. He's like, "Man, I figured that you're just gonna like chomp down." It's like, dude, I come from Texas. I get that every day.
You know, I mean, and you'll get those guys that are just so indoctrinated. You know, it's like, here I'm supposed to be lean, lean, mean.
I had a guy in my boot camp. He told the TI after this is the end of our boot camp. He's like, they were just like, "What do you hope to get from this?" Me, I was like, "Well, I hope afterwards I get use my GI Bill to get a good education." And he just goes, "I was like, I hope to die for my country." I'm like, what the fuck? I chose a career field where I don't have to see combat, even though I ended up seeing combat, which is stupid ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, going up to a cook and and you're telling us like, "What did you do in the Air Force?" "Well, I was a cook." "Oh, so you're not?" It was like, "You didn't even see combat." I was like, "No, I saw it twice." And no, it was just a fuck show.
Right. You know, you'll be like, I've been around the world numerous times. I've seen 2 World Fairs in Omaha. I've even seen goat shows down in Tijuana. I ain't never seen nothing as fucked up as this place. You know?
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, I mean, you're gonna run into your clusterfucks. You're gonna run into those guys that are just, I mean, they are 8 up from the floor up, and that's fine. You're gonna always get that. I mean, if you went your entire career and all you saw was high speed, low drag, you're gonna have a hard ass time in life because you have set that bar incredibly high for everybody else. You know. So,
well, it was even when I was because we had this whole facility. It was basically a hangar, but it was just for a helicopter. And we had a bunch of bedding in there.
Mm-hmm.
My job at the time was to take the bedding, figure out what was serviceable, and put it in a pile to have it trashed out.
Yeah.
Air Force reality of serviceable and Marine Corps serviceable, totally different ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I had stuff that all it was a frame. That was it. I was like, well, and it was a bent up frame. I was like, well, okay, put it here. And I had a freaking major come up to me from the Marine Corps. It's like, "What's this about?" I was like, "Well, those are the unserviceable ones." And then he was like, "What do you mean unserviceable?" I was like, "We're gonna trash them and get new ones. Air Force money, get new ones."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Put them back." I was like, "Sir, talk to my command." And luckily, I was one of those spots to where I did not care if he yelled at me. And he was yelling at me. I was like, "Sir, you can talk to my command, and he can tell me to take those and put them back. You're not in charge of me,
Right.
sir."
Yeah.
I hate to tell you that right now.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to run into those people that just refuse to stay in their lane.
Yeah.
You know,
And he came back around and after I put them all up and everything. It's like, and he was the nicest person after that when we got along.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I always found that initially, you get those guys that they come across as just hard ass.
Or they just had a bad day that day.
Yeah, it's like dog shit on their boot when they, something. It's like Rover took a shit on the toe of my freshly shined boots, and I didn't realize it until I went to come in this morning. It's like, okay, all right, so get it out of your system. It's like they get, but a lot of that, you'll find a lot of that, especially with the camaraderie, they spree to core. The tighter the cohesiveness of a unit on any level, whether it be a fire team on up all the way to a company or even sometimes battalion level, that if somebody's coming in and they're just having a just shit-tastic morning, they'll grouse and gripe and bitch. Okay, well,
Are you done?
I'm going to make fun of you. It's like I'm going to give you shit just for being in a bad mood. It's like, well, who the fuck pissed in your Wheaties this morning?
Or you pull out a box of tampons.
Yeah, it's like we'd always tell each other like, hey, somebody go get this guy a tube of Vagisil so he can clear up that fucking drip this morning.
Yeah.
And we could be crass like that, or crass like that because we were grunts. This was before everybody. You can't say that. You're like, well, the only time you'd hear "you can't say that" is when there was a female officer. There was a female soldier in the area, or there was a spouse. Yeah. And do not let anybody tell you spouses, sometimes their mouth, their length, dude, they have bigger potty mouths than the soldiers themselves.
Yeah. And they say, I've talked to a spouse one time. I was like, Jesus Christ, would you shut up? This is really
way worse.
This is really. I got virgin ears. Just stop.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a virgin. But it's like,
and you just cringe. And I was like, that's not even possible. Let me call.
Yeah, it's
or
like,
you call a cop and you find out that, hey, is this sexual position illegal?
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's illegal in this state.
Yeah.
Like that's punishable under the UCMJ. But it's like, it's like holy shit. But and that was one of the benefits of. One of the many benefits of being infantry is the fact that, we were just able to be just absolute barbarians with each other.
Yeah.
Both physically, verbally, we'd just give each other 10 shades of hell. But we understood that it was a commonality with us. It was like, okay, you give me shit, I'll give you shit. But the second anybody outside of our little group gave you crap, we'd go to toe for you. Our platoon officers ran 1st platoon through 5th platoon all the way down to the back door. And one of our guys, I forget who it was walking to go outside. And you just see this arm reach out of the 3rd platoon office and grab our guy and just pull him in. And our offices are probably about as wide as the end of your table to the wall.
Yeah.
And about as deep as our room is wide here.
Oh, wow.
So there's not a lot of room. It's like an over-glorified fucking phone booth, right?
Yeah.
Jail cells with more square footage, but
yeah.
But they just yanked him into their office, shut the door, and just started beating the crap out of him.
Oh shit.
So you just hear this 1st platoon, where you at? And so we just 2 platoons worth of dudes just in one little space, just fighting it out. We're not like slugging the shit out of each other and drawing blood. We're just grappling and just throwing elbows, and
just basically horseplay.
Yeah, it's just over glorified horseplay. We're talking to the point where it's like you'd almost expect J.R. Ross to be out there going, "It's a slobber knocker," and you hear Jerry King Lawler on the side going, "Oh my God!" First sergeant comes in and he's like, "What the hell's going on here? Y'all think y'all got a bunch of fucking energy now? I got y'all asses." So we had 2 platoons out there, out back. It's the end of the damn day. We're out there, half right face. We're out there trying to, first sergeant's out there trying to smoke us.
Yeah.
And we do not care. We're laughing at the first sergeant. And it was to the point where first sergeant was just like, you know what, fuck it, get up. Assume the position of attention. And he's like, y'all got so much damn energy, fucking do some more PT in the morning, So we had that. It's like we could sit there and give each other crap all the time in the barracks, and somebody from another unit come around. It doesn't matter. I mean, when we were in the barracks, it was a different dynamic. When we were the Delta Company guys. It's like we give each other shit all the time. Occasionally some pushing matches, maybe a couple fist fights would break out, but nothing really escalated too far because we were all there to break each other up.
Yeah.
You get somebody from Charlie Company or Bravo Company. We had some of these guys from Alpha Company come across one night, and they just started talking shit. And one of our guys had way too much to drink, and remember those old Brutus glasses like you get at Red Lobster or Applebee's? Yeah. Well, we had acquired. You never steal anything in the military. You procure or acquire.
No, reacquisition.
Yeah. There you go. But
I had to use that term a lot.
he had one full of what he called a Bloody Mary, which had just enough tomato juice to tint the vodka pink. And he threw this thing a full glass from the 3rd floor.
Oh my god!
And just it shattered in front of this guy, and all because he offended him. He was like, why don't you come up in here and have a drink with us? And he's like, I don't want to fucking drink with you guys. And he's like, and so in this guy's mind, he heard, well, you're not good enough for me to drink with.
Yeah.
So we were just like, whoa, hold the fuck up, guy, because he was making his way down the stairs. He was gonna kick this guy's ass. And he was gonna rip his head off and crap down his neck. And we had to break it up. We're like, oh, Lou, woo, hold up. We talked to this guy, and he's like, this guy is just like, what the hell just happened? We're like, dude, it would be in your best interest if you just come up and have a beer. Just one beer, that's all we want. He's like, oh, okay. And he ended up being a halfway decent guy. It's just, just you're an outside person, So I mean,